Hey stamping friends, it's Angie here with Too Cool Stamping. We're here for another live class, and today we are going to be working with the Lovely Garden Suite. It is absolutely gorgeous and perfect for this time of year. Beautiful, bright, springy colors, lovely florals, and really awesome masks. Have you ever used masks before and blending brushes? I have honestly not used them very much, so I had so much fun learning a little bit more about them, and I'm telling you, I am hooked. I am totally hooked, and you will be too. Before we get started, I would like to just remind everybody that we have a brand new Stampin Rewards program. So just very simply, and it is very simple, for every not for every $20, but if you have a $20 order, you'll start earning 10% back in Stampin Rewards that you can redeem on future orders. I love this program. We don't have host codes. There's no more hosting and trying to get your order up to $150 to earn Stampin Rewards. Now it's on very small orders, just $20 is your minimum. You'll start earning 10% back. So awesome. Unlike before when you earned Stampin' Rewards, you used to have to use them up with the same order. This time you earn them and you redeem them on a future order. So you can redeem them, you can save them up and redeem them all at once or redeem them gradually. They expire in 1 year, so you'll have plenty of time to use those up. Again, all you need is a $20 order to start earning the rewards. Now, there is a couple of things that you need to do to get ready. First of all, you need to have your own account. So if you do not have an online account with Stampin' Up, just go to stampinup.com. If you go to toocoolstamping.com, I have a link right there. You can click on that. It will you go up to the top and sign in, and there's a link there that says create an account. It'll walk you through that. And once you've created an account, the second step is you need to opt in to start earning the Stampin' Rewards. So you do need to opt in. Once you opt in one time, you'll be on the program. So again, so much fun. You don't have to spend very much, just $20. That's so easy to spend, right? And you'll start earning those 10% rewards back for future purchases. So I can't wait for people to really start enjoying this program. All right, another quick thing. I am going to get you started looking at what we're going to be working with today, but there is a little bit different since we don't have host codes anymore and things are a little bit different. I'm going to talk to you about how to earn your free class kit. We will get the same 5-card class kit that you're used to with all the supplies that you need to create the cards that I am going to put together today. And it'll be so much fun because you can earn Stampin' Rewards with your order. Let's just go ahead and talk about it now since we're doing that, and then we'll just get on with the class. So usually I have my host code up here. Let me get my paper out of the way. But this time I just have toocoolstamping.com. That's where you're going to go to place your order. And the minimum now is $55. There's a couple of reasons that it's bumped up a little bit. First of all, with the new catalog and the new products, the cardstock, as you know, has been increasing, so I need to cover my costs there. I used to use Stampin' Rewards that were earned on the orders that you guys placed to purchase the class supplies. Now, instead of me earning those rewards, you'll be earning those rewards. So if you place a $55 order, you're going to get $5.50 back to earn or to use to redeem on future orders. So that is a really great savings there. So while it is a little bit more of a minimum, you're going to get some of that back for $5.50 or more, depending on the amount of your order, that you can redeem on future orders. So that is awesome. One caveat is you need to make sure, this will be a little bit of a learning curve, but as you're checking out, if you have earned Stampin' Rewards in the past, of course right now maybe you haven't, but once you earn some and you're about ready to redeem them, you can redeem them on the order that you place with me to earn a class kit. However, it has to be $55 after the Stampin' Rewards have been applied, so after they're redeemed. So for example, if you had a $55 order and you had $10 in Stampin' Rewards and you applied those, then it would only be a $45 order. So you need to make sure that if you had $10 in Stampin' Rewards to apply, you would at least need to have a $65 order, and then the Stampin' Rewards would be applied and it would bring it back down to $55. So we'll work on that. I know that'll be a little bit of a learning curve with this new program, but I think you're really going to love earning Stampin' Rewards on just about everything you purchase, right? All right, let's move on to the fun. We have the beautiful Lovely Garden Suite today. It starts with the Thankful Garden stamp set, a gorgeous, gorgeous stamp set with 2 lovely large florals that are perfect for coloring. In this case, the suite has masks that you can use. So I'll show you how to use that, and it makes coloring these images so fun and easy. And I think you're going to love the results. So you could also use Stampin' Blends, Watercolor Pencils, or Stampin' Markers to color these images as well. Or emboss. They'd be perfect for embossing. So those are fun. And then you also have some sentiments. You make a difference with love and thanks that you can pair up with that. And thankful for you, friend. There's some little leaves, and then, excuse me, there's also some details that you can put inside the flowers as well. So that's Thankful Garden. And then the dies that come with this, you're going to have the great big outlines of both of the florals, as well as some leaves. This, I'll show you how this little one works with part of the image. Then you'll have some leaves that you can just cut out and use for layering purposes as well. So that is the Thankful Garden dies. They work so beautifully together. Now my favorite part, and it usually is, is the beautiful, beautiful paper. Look at that. Aren't they absolutely gorgeous? You could use this for cards, scrapbooking. You could actually cut some of these out and make them focal points of your projects as well. And then some really pretty backgrounds to coordinate. I love that black and white stripes. Really pretty garden green floral, fresh freesia. I love this one. I think this one might be my favorite. It kind of has boho blue back there, which is the soon to retire color. And I love this one, melon mambo, blueberry bushel. And then the final one with some daffodil and crushed curry. So beautiful florals for, and that is the Lovely Garden Designer Series paper. Now along with those products, in the suite, you'll also get the masks that I told you about. There's 5 layers here, and they will coordinate with the 2 different florals here so that you can have the hydrangea and then the other kind of a pansy, I guess. I don't know my flowers too well, so forgive me, those who do. But they actually have little numbers up here, 1 and then 2, so you know how to layer them. And then also if you line them up by this little notch, you can see, there you go, you can see that little notch, and that way it makes it a little bit easier to line up. There's a 3rd layer to get even more detailed, and then there's 2 layers for each of the leaves, and I'll show you how to use that as we go. All right, next we're going to show you 2 more products from the suite. These are so awesome. They're called Starburst Sequins, and they come in the Fresh Freesia, Daffodil Delight, and White, and 2 different sizes. So those are so fun to add a little shimmer and shine to your project. And then this beautiful soft faux velvet ribbon. This is a 1/8 inch, so very skinny, Fresh Freesia ribbon. And honestly, I'm not real excited about how it ties bows, but it adds a really nice texture to your cards. So you can definitely use that for layering and adding some texture. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to move this light over a little bit closer so we can get some good light on everything. And we will start with our first card. We're going to start with Misty Moonlight as our card base, and We start with 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. And next, we're going to have a 1.5 by 5.5 piece of the Lovely Garden Designer Series paper. And I'll just add that with a little bit of seal. This is a card layout that I am casing from Julie Davison. She's one of my favorites. I just love her designs. Her style is very much like my Too Cool style. I really get her style, so I couldn't wait to make this card. All right, I have already used the Textured Notes dies. I don't know if you can see the really pretty decorative edge there, but this is just a piece of basic black with the Textured Notes. And then let me measure this layer. Fresh Freesia. It is 2 1/4 by 3 3/4. And we'll just add this to the black layer. Makes a nice little frame. And we'll add that to our card as well. All right. It's looking awesome already. Okay, now I'm going to start working on our focal point. So I have a piece of scrap paper here. This is basic white. I'm going to use my piercing mat just as a little bit of a cushion. It allows the ink to transfer very well. And we'll use Memento Black. Now the thing that's really cool about the blending brushes as opposed to the Stampin' Blends when you're using them is you don't have to use the Memento Black ink. With the markers, the Stampin' Blends, you're going to need to use that because the alcohol ink needs a water-based ink in order to not bleed all of the color. But if you wanted to use Night of Navy or Misty Moonlight or whatever, it's great because all you're doing is layering color. So, and it's all the same water-based color. So I have my image here and I'm going to start using my masks and blenders. And I'm going to call them blenders, but they're really blending brushes. All right, so here are my masks. I'm going to start with number 1 and line that up. And the first layer that I'm going to put down is Bubble Bath. Let me tell you a little bit about blending brushes. If you caught me earlier in the video, you would have heard me say that I have not used blending brushes very much. So I'm not an expert, but you don't have to be an expert to use these. There's 2 different sizes. You have this larger size and then the small blending brushes. And they come in a package, and I can't even tell you how many are in the package because that's how often I purchase them. I've had them in my drawer for a long time. But anyway, they're super soft. The bristles are very, very soft, and there's tons of them. And then they're just kind of contoured, so they make a beautiful, soft shape. And what I found is, certainly I would love to have one for every color, but that's not very realistic when it comes to purchasing. So what I have done is, and it's really kind of a preference of whether you want the large or the small. This is obviously going to cover more than this one. But what I've decided to do is to take like colors and use those together. So for example, I have Bubble Bath for this one. And my next 2 colors are going to be in Fresh Freesia and Highland Heather. And as long as you kind of wipe off onto some paper, kind of just scribble off onto some paper, it's not going to contaminate your ink, is what I found. So I've just been kind of keeping it with the same color family. Greens are with greens, dark blues with dark blues, light blues with light blues, teals with teals, yellows with yellows, that type of thing. So that's a couple of tips that I've learned in my very brief foray into the blending world. So let me move this out of the way so I have plenty of room here. All right, so I'm going to put this on here, line it up with it's very easy to line up with my image. And you could use some washi tape to hold it down if you have trouble holding it, but I'm just going to use my hand. I'm going to pick up a little bit of ink. And the first thing you want to do before you go dabbing straight onto the image is to dab off once and then, because you might have a big blob of color, and then just start working in circles. Now, I'll tell you what, I'm gonna do this because I didn't get very much color. I think my colors, I've had them open for a while and they're starting to dry out, so we'll see. All right, so dab off and then start wiping on. Now, also, for this one, if you do too much rough housing like I did, I don't know if you can see that, but that little piece right there that's sticking out is a little bit, if you go in circles, you're gonna hit it sometimes, and you need to be gentle, otherwise you're gonna bend it like I did. So you can see this right here, I got really dark, and that's because I didn't tap off first. So you wanna kind of tap off, and I'm trying to get my hand out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing, and then that's causing it to move a little bit. But it really covers very, very well. So I only want a light bit of color there, so that's all I'm going to do. Next up, I am going to do I'm going to do the leaves. So we could be putting a couple more layers on there, but I'm just going to do one to start with so that we're just going to kind of build up from there. So this time we're going to do leaves, and I'm going to do in garden green, and we will do 2 layers here. So I'll put that on there very nicely, have my garden green right here. I'm going to move my whole thing over a little bit. It makes more sense to go on this side. I've got my green blending brush, and this is definitely one I want to tap off. See how much ink is on there? And then just small circles. Now I really just want a light, you can even pick that ink up later. And depending on how hard you're pressing and how much ink you're picking up, you can kind of just practice. If I just want a light approach, you'll do that. If you want a little bit heavier, you're gonna push a little harder. So that's just a nice light look. I'm gonna use the next one over the top, and it's pretty easy to line that up. Again, tap off, and then I'm gonna kind of dig into those holes a little bit more. You could even use a sponge dauber if you wanted to, especially for these little, the little areas, the detailed areas. And I apologize, I know this is going to cause my camera to go crazy, going in circles. But then look at this beautiful, very light but shaded leaves that you have. So that is the look we're going for. And for this first card, I just wanted to make it easy again, as I said, for the flower. So I'm just going to get some Stampin' Blends, the Fresh Freesia Light, and I'm just going to use that and color over the lines that I see, the little shading lines, and just add some color that way. And actually, let me do that to this one. I've already die cut with the Thankful Garden dies. So I'm going to add some Fresh Freesia onto that. Just another little way to shade, and we'll do some other cards with the layering of masks. All right, so there's our flower for the first card. We're going to pop this up over the top. So let's get some dimensionals. And it's pretty large, so you're going to use quite a few. Might want to use more than that. If you know me, I like to use a lot, and that's not nearly enough for me, but I'm going to just save a little bit of time. And we'll add that to our card front. And then the last thing we're going to do is stamp a little sentiment. And this is going to be thankful for you, friend. And I'm going to put that right down here. So I want a couple of dimensionals, maybe one on this corner and a couple more on the end. And I see that I didn't cut this end very well, so I'm going to just hand cut that a little bit well, better. And we'll put that right here. Whoops. We'll take the, you got to take the backings off. It's not going to stick without that. All right. So there's my thankful friend. And then I'm going to finish up with a few iridescent faceted gems. Let's see if I have, I didn't bring my, oh, here it is. My little paper piercer that I like. You can also use your pick tool. I love these. These have kind of, they have a little bit of blue, they have a little bit of freesia, they have a little bit of yellow in there, orange. So you really do get all of the different colors. And there is the first card. Love those faceted, iridescent faceted gems. So there is our first one. All right. Now we're going to get a little bit deeper into the blending. We'll start with Highland Heather for our card base, traditional card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. All right. Next, I really enjoyed my textured notes bundle from last time, and there were so many fun things in that suite, including the mini corrugated texture. And so this is a piece of white that I have already textured with that. And this is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. And I'm going to layer that. Now it is so textured that you might want to go really slowly with your seal so you don't pull any of the fibers up. I'm going to lay that onto a piece of black. And this one is 3 5/8 by 4 3/4. All right, we're gonna, before we add that, I do have one little piece here of the Lovely Garden paper, and I hate to not use that pretty side, but I did just want a little strip of green right across the bottom. So I'll add that. And I'm going to use some of that beautiful faux ribbon, faux velvet, and I'm just going to add a little texture along there. So let's just put a little seal and then wrap it where I want it and tuck those ends right around the back to hold it. We'll cut it off so that we don't need any excess on there. And that one's pretty good. And put that on our Highland Heather card. All right. Then we're going to do a little more stamping, this time with the hydrangea. So I have my Memento black again. And notice how I'm just kind of squishing it. That's going to really get it nice and covered. All right, so for this one, very similar. We're going to start with the number 1 mask and line that up where we want it. There we go. And again, we're going to start with Bubble Bath. And if you start off a little bit, I think I need to ink my ink pad up a little bit. It's kind of dry in the center. But just kind of start off and then go onto the paper in little tiny circles. Again, I apologize for the bumpy ride with my video. I'm sure it's shaking the table, shaking the video. So there's our background. Then we're going to use number 2. So look for the number 2 up here at the top. And for this one, we're going to use fresh freesia. line that up again. Okay, there we go. Get it so there's no white spaces showing. Then I have a different, this was my bubble bath. I have my different blending brush for my light purples. Whoops, stuck on me there. All right, let's get a little bit on there, tap off, and then rub. Again, the harder you press, the more ink that's going to be blended. You can just keep layering and layering over the top to make it as dark as you want to or as light as you want to. So that's, you can see how you have a nice layer of darker there over the lighter bubble bath. And then we'll come in for the final piece with our number 3, and I'm going to put some Highland Heather accents on there. And I'm going to use that same brush, and we'll get that, trying to remember how that goes. If I had, hold on one second. Let me put this one back on. This was my number 2. And, oh, there we go. It was clear this way, no wonder. Okay, so my 2, my little divot here is going that way, so that gives me a little bit of a hint. I had it way the wrong way. So there we go. Now it's lining up better. I can see it. Okay, we'll get all of those in line. Tap off the edge. See how that would have been a great big blob, and we don't want that. I love how it just lays the color down so quickly, and you're going to love the results after you get this darker Highland Heather purple on there. All right, let's take that off, and look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Just a little bit of extra purple in there. All right, the leaves, we would do the exact same way. We're just going to be using the larger leaves here on this side, and then there's one more that you layer over the top. I've already done that, and die cut it with the Thankful Garden dies. We're going to pop this up like we did the last time over the focal point background. And finish it off with a little sentiment as well. So this is going to go here, and actually I knew I was going to put one of those right where the, I'm just going to deal with it. Kind of keep in mind where that ribbon is. It is a little bit thick, so you don't want to put your dimensional right there, or it's going to, see how it's popping up just a little bit more than I would like. I should have put the dimensional down a little bit farther, so keep that in mind when you're putting it on your card. And then I'm going to finish it up with a little sentiment. I have a Nested Essentials die cut in black, in basic white, and this one is just going to be Memento Black and With Love, and we'll pop that up, and you can add that with some dimensionals or seal, however you want to, and then add some Starburst Sequins, and there is your second card. So pretty. All right, how are you loving it? I'm interested if you have used the blending brushes. I'd love to know about it, so let me know in the comments if you've used them before and how you like them, because like I mentioned, this is kind of a first. I've kind of used them before, but not with masking. All right, this one is a fun fold, and we're going to start with Garden Green. It's 11 by 4 1/4, and we're going to score it at the 4 1/4 mark as well as the 5 1/2 mark, and it's going to be what I call an album style card. So it has the second score line, and it's going to open with a little spine here, kind of like the old photo albums. So the first thing I want to do is just adhere this part to the back, and that will be our card base. Next, I'm going to decorate that spine with a little strip of the Lovely Garden paper. This is a 1x4 strip. Like so. I also have a basic white piece that's 4x4, and I've already embossed that with the Forever Plaid embossing folder. We'll add that with some seal. And then for the focal point background, I have a Daffodil Delight die cut here using the Spotlight on Nature dies for that really pretty circle. So we'll add that as well. Just a really fun pop of color there. Then let's start stamping. So again, I'm going to try my pansies. And you'll get a nice big sheet here of the basic white. Remember, I'm going to give you all the supplies in your kit that you need. Everything will be pre-cut unless it's a stamped first and then die cut thing, which all of these focal points are. So you'll get scrap paper for that. You'll get a whole sheet, a whole quarter sheet here. And there's some other things that we're going to need to stamp over to the side as well. So leave room for those. Okay. We're going to need to clean up our masks a little bit. I'm going to use garden green every time for my leaves, so I'm not concerned about that. But let's go back, and I'm going to use my Simply Chamois and just kind of wipe that up, and be very careful with this little part right here. It's very easily bent. I've already bent it so many times now already. I feel bad. So this will be for the first one, and then we're just going to use one more die. I really just like the first two the best, and so a lot of times I'll just do 2 layers instead of going all out and doing 3. All right, we'll line that up. This time, starting with Lemon Lolly. I have my yellow blending brush out. And again, start off the edge. See how much ink that you're getting. And so since this one's a little bit folded, I'm going to be very careful and just go down, so I'm not, if I go too many times over the top of that, I'm afraid I'm going to bend it even more. So there's my Lemon Lolly, just a nice, soft, subtle yellow. Then I'm going to use Daffodil Delight on top of that with the second layer. So let's add that over the top. So fun. I'm going to use the same one. So if I start light and then go dark, then I don't need to worry about contamination. Also, if I start dark and go light, I can always just rub it off on some paper. Just make sure it's rubbing clear, and we're good to go. So pick up some color. You can also pick up the color that you just put down. And there is our very subtle shading on there. Can you see that? I hope the camera's picking it up. It's just a really subtle look with those 2 layers of color. All right, again, I would do the same kind of thing with our leaves. I'm not going to keep doing that over since you've already seen how the garden green looks. So I'm going to add this to our card front. So you'll see it's kind of the same formula. We're going to make a background, we're going to make a pretty flower, and add it to the card front. This time I want you to put the dimensionals more toward the center because we're going to tuck some little leaves underneath there as well. All right, so this is going to go like this. Then we're going to go back to our scrap paper here. And let's stamp a couple more leaves. There's some really tiny leaves here. We're going to stamp 3 of those. Whoops, I didn't do a very good job. And you can either use a sponge dauber or you can use your blender with green on it already and just go over that. You might need to add a little bit more green to it, but we just want a light color. Tap off. See what it would have looked like if I just went down right on it. Just want to get some of that excess color off. And I only need 3 of these. Just some light color on it. If you want, you could add some shading with, I was going to say a Stampin' Blends, but they don't have Stampin' Blends in Garden Green. Isn't that a little silly? I just realized they don't really have that. So yeah, you could just add that with some more, just put extra green on it if you wanted to, the garden green on it. You're going to use the dies to cut those out, and the cool part is there's actually 3 dies for this shape, so you could just do it in one pass. And I've already done that, of course, so I have my little leaves here. So let's add those to the card. I'm going to pop those up as well. So 1 small dimensional, well, regular dimensional. You could put a mini dimensional on it if you wanted to, but just 1 dimensional right in the center. And we'll tuck those underneath our flower. This is why I wanted you to put your dimensionals kind of toward the center for that flower, so you could just tuck them in very easily. Little extra greenery. And we're going to finish up with a little sentiment. I have a lemon lolly strip here. This is a 3" by 3/8 inch. And that's the perfect size for the You Make a Difference sentiment. There you go. We're going to put that over the edge. And then I'll show you my finished card. It is right here. And so I just used a little bit of seal. You could use a mini dimensional or the edging around the side of the dimensionals. Just trim that off and that'll fit back there behind that sentiment. And then I added a couple of those Starburst sequins in the Daffodil Delight. So, and then when you get your card, you'll have an inside piece here too. That's a 4x4 piece that you can easily write on. So that's our 3rd card. All right. The next card is in the beautiful blueberry bushel color. Again, it's just a traditional card base, 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. All right, we'll set that aside. The first thing we're going to do, and I need a little, I hope I brought, did I bring some? Oh, yes, I did. I just need some scrap paper here because I have a piece here of blueberry bushel and we're going to stamp a background on there. So this is a 5 by 3 1/4. And I'm going to use that hydrangea stamp. I need to clean it off a little bit because we do have the Memento black on it. So just rub that off with my chamois. And we'll add some blueberry bushel. And we're just gonna make a background. So I'm just gonna use the flowers and come in as far as I can to get those flowers covering the whole thing. I need one little bit right here. Doesn't matter if they overlap a little bit, can't really tell. So there is my background. Can you see that? It's just a really subtle tone on tone, blueberry bushel on blueberry bushel. I'm going to layer that onto a 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 piece of basic black. And then I have a 3/4 inch strip by 5 of the Lovely Garden paper. We'll add a little strip of that along the bottom, give a little pop of black and white, and then we'll add that to our card base. All right, so there is our background that we'll be working with. And then a couple of different things we're going to do here. So I've already, let me start by just doing the hydrangea again, just to give you the basic layering for this one. I know we're taking a little bit of time with this, but it goes pretty quickly with the blending. All right, we're going to start this time with Coastal Cabana. And how does it go here? Let's go this way. There we go. So Coastal Cabana is going to be our go-to color. If I can find what I just did with it. Here we go. Right in front of my eyes. So I have a light teal kind of a color for this blending brush. And I'm going to start with just a light on the background. So there is our first layer. Second layer, I need to wipe this off a little bit with my chamois. Still have my Highland or my Fresh Freesia on this one. All right, so this one will go over the top, and for this one I'm going to do blueberry bushel, but really lightly. All right, here's my blueberry bushel. Get my mask all lined up, stamp off, or just, it's not really stamp off, but dot off of it, and just a little bit of lighter shading over that top. So you can see how that's really bringing that out. And then, and actually, I think I did it backwards. I think I was supposed to do Coastal Cabana a second time, only darker, but that's okay, it'll still look pretty. It'll just be different than I had thought it was going to be. All right, again, with the mask, we need to wipe off with our Simply Chamois. So easy with this Simply Chamois. And then put that over the top again. And this time I'm going to do it a little bit darker with that same blueberry bushel. You'll have so much fun experimenting with different layers of colors, and this just gives you just a little bit of a start, but it's just so much fun. Get some of that excess off, and that really darkens it up a little bit, but you can see how it just keeps bringing it out and bringing it out. So this time I did the light a light layer of blueberry bushel and a dark layer of blueberry bushel. But I had also, what I wanted to do was a lighter layer or a darker layer of Coastal Cabana and then a lighter layer of blueberry bushel. Either way, it looks really cute. So you're going to do this twice. You're going to have 2 pieces of scrap paper and you're going to do the hydrangea part twice. That's what it was. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. The first layer, the bottom layer, you're going to do the full flower, and you're going to do light on the background and then a blueberry bushel layer with the most detailed. That's going to be your background. Then we're going to layer some things on top of it. So when I did this one, I was wanting to do a little bit darker with Coastal Cabana. And I think I might even go back and add some of that. So you can see how I can layer my second layer I was supposed to do in Coastal Cabana just to make it a little bit darker. Let's just go back and add some later and see how it looks. So I'm cleaning up my my blueberry bushel, and I will tell you that it is so easy when you're actually stamping at your studio to just run it under some water. And that's going to get the color off of it very, very quickly. So I'm going to add in a little bit more Coastal Cabana with this second layer right over the top of my blueberry bushel, just to get a little more greenish. That was kind of what I was going for. Again, it's just so fun to play with the colors, adding more, layering more, and experimenting. All right, so that gives me a little bit more of a popped look for that layer. So this is, like I said, you're going to want to do one layer that's all just kind of light. That's going to be your background. Next, I'm going to use this die. I was like, what is this die? And I figured out that it actually goes to, which one is it? It's this one. It goes to the hydrangea right here. Look at that. So you can actually stamp, if you wanted to, you could stamp this several times and then just cut out that part. Or you can, I just stamped this, or I just die cut this part, and then I went through and just hand cut out a bunch of other little pieces. So I know that's kind of crazy. If you wanted to, you could, again, stamp this part of your hydrangea and color it up and then die cut it several times. I thought it would be easier to hand cut rather than have to do a lot of the blending again. Anyway, you can use that for one little trio and then just use your paper snips to get the rest of them all cut out. Then let's put it on our card. I'll show you what it looks like. So this one, it's going to go like this. And then we have this 3 little trio piece. And let me get my dimensionals. And then it's just going to be kind of a jigsaw puzzle to try to put some of these together that I had already cut and then hand cut, as I mentioned. So we'll just put some dimensionals on the back. And then let's trim a little bit of the edging here to use for some of the smaller ones. It's a little bit messy. Did you notice that? That's part of the creative process. So that's all good. All right, let's see if we can get some of these put together where they go. That one goes there. This one goes here, actually. It's all cut off. This one goes here. This one goes up here. This one goes over here. All right, I think I have them figured out. Let's get them put on. And I love this because it's just kind of a, it's like a paper piecing type of thing that you would normally do with maybe designer series paper, but you're just doing it with the same petals. All right. I'm looking at the shading on each one, and that helps me figure out how to line them up. All right, there we go. Can you see that? So now we have a beautiful three-dimensional look with our flowers. I'm gonna finish up with a little sentiment. This time it's a Stylish Shapes die cut from Whisper White, or from Basic White. And this one is gonna say with love and thanks. We're gonna pop that up with some dimensionals over here. And I already have a little baker's twine bow, white baker's twine bow. I'm going to use a glue dot to add that. So I put it right on the glue dot, pinch it together a little bit, add that to my stem. And of course we need a few of the sequins. So let's add some over here. And maybe one over here. Let's use a smaller one. All right, there is our fourth card. Love that one. All right, one more card. Okay, this one is another fun fold. Get some of my stuff out of the way here. All right, so this one's going to start with Melon Mambo. This is a quarter sheet, so just 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Next, I have a piece of 1 1/2 by 4 1/4 of the Lovely Garden paper. And we'll put that right along the bottom here. Feel like it needs to go that way. All right, next up we have a piece of black. This one is measuring 3 3/8 by 4 5/8. That over the top. And then next we have the card base. Basically this is going to be fresh freesia. It is 4 1/2 by 6 1/2, scored at 3 1/4. And we'll add that to our card front. This will be the opening of the card. We're going to decorate that with another little piece of the Lovely Garden paper. And I've cut that. That is 3 by 4 1/4. And so that is our little card. You'll get an inside piece as well. Then we're going to add a focal point to that, and I'll show you how I did the blending for this last one. Let me find my, or maybe I won't because I didn't bring my, here's an extra piece here. I didn't bring a scrap piece. Here we go. All right, let's get the yellow off of here with our chamois. Again, it would be so much easier if you just run it right through, like underneath the tap, That would be the easiest way. Just let it dry or pat it dry with a towel. All right. So for this one, I'm going to start with Fresh Freesia again. And I'm going to do the detailed one of the masks. So I already have that one cleaned, and I need to do this one. So this is the number 2 mask. So we're doing the details first, which you kind of got a hint at what that was like when we did the blueberry card. All right, so here's my Fresh Freesia. Do a little bit of this. Whoops, I got that really, I didn't tap off. That's what I'm like, what is that word? Tap off. I didn't tap off first, so I got a big blob, and that's how it works. All right, then we'll go over that with Melon Mambo. So you can see how it is to kind of backward shade. So tap off. I don't want it to be dark. I knew this one had a lot of ink to it, so I don't want it to be that dark. So just really light over the top. So it adds color over that Freesia and turns it really a different color. But coordinating, because it's all part of Melon Mambo. You'll finish the leaves again, just like we did the other ones, with Garden Green, and you'll end up with this flower. And before we put that on there, I've already have a little die cut Garden Green piece here, and I'm just going to cut that so that we have a couple of different greeneries. I'm going to put some adhesive behind this side and then up here on this side as well. So just a little bit here and a little bit here. And we just want about 3 of the leaves to show. We don't want too many or it'll be too big for the card. And then these 2 on the side. Gonna poke right out there. Once again, we're gonna pop it up with some dimensionals. And I hope you guys are loving the blending brushes as much as I am. This was so much fun to do the masking. Again, if you've done it before, let me know that you have. If you've never done it, let me know. I just would love to hear what your thoughts are on this cool technique. All right, so this one, make sure you don't have any leaves poking out on this side because that is where the card fold is. So you don't want that to get squished. If you have anything poking out, it needs to be on this side. It can overlap over here. And then we'll finish up by stamping on your extra part here. You'll stamp the word thankful. And we're going to do a little bit of fussy cutting as well. You don't have to if you want to put the whole words on there. But I thought it was kind of a fun thing to just do a cutout word thankful. So I stamped it, used my paper snips, and have this word already cut out. We're going to add it to the bottom here. And again, I'm just going to use some of this edging. If I can get it off of here. There we go. Just a little bit of edging on this side to pop it up. And maybe half of this piece. I don't think I need that much. You could also use mini dimensionals. I just find when I'm right in the middle of creating, whatever's there, that's what I use. All right, you could put a little bit of seal in the middle, but I don't think you're gonna need it. And then just add this across the bottom. Thankful. I keep forgetting this part, and I wanted to show you what it looked like oh, we're going to add, before I finish, or before I show you the other one, I'm going to finish up with some iridescent faceted gems again. So just a few of those, give it a little bit of sparkle. So I'll let you see the difference between this card. So I'll give you a white piece too, so you have a place to write on. I love how that turned out. And then do you see the difference with this card between this flower, these flowers, and these flowers? This one has some dark stamping on the inside. And that is something that you can choose to do if you want to. There's actually little stamps here. I'll show you on the picture. You can see it a little better. So there's images here for the larger flower and the smaller flower that make a little bit of dark shading for the middle. And you can just use, I used Memento Black and just added some really dark shading there. So you can see the difference between how those look. This one really pops in my opinion. All right, so that is the class and all 5 cards. Remember, you can earn your class kit for free. You'll get all the supplies to make all of the 5 cards that I showed here today, and all the embellishments and everything will be included for free when you place your $55 order. And also make sure that that is before, or I'm sorry, after any Stampin' Rewards are applied. So if you've earned any Stampin' Rewards that you'd like to redeem with this order of $55, just make sure that after that, the net is going to be $55. So let's get all of our dimensional backings and everything out of the way, and we'll show all of the cards again. And you can see everything that we're going to be doing. Whoops, let me get the other one that's already made. I didn't have that one put together. There you go. So these are all of the 5 cards. I hope you really have a lot of fun. I just had a lot of fun masking and using blending brushes. As I mentioned, I just hadn't done it before, and I found it to be just really kind of therapeutic. I really liked it, and I love that you can add so much color so quickly and get such a really cool dimensional shaded look, almost watercolory look. And these images are perfect to play with. I encourage you to play with different colors, layer different colors over each other, play with, you know, different levels of intensity, whether it's just a soft, subtle look or really adding in some color by pushing harder with your blending brushes. Don't forget that it really doesn't, to me, I didn't find it much different whether it's small or large. I kind of like the large, of course, when you're doing a larger area, and the small for a smaller area. But it's, you know, do you want to buy 2 different sizes? They're kind of expensive that way, but something to think about. Also, I used color families. So green, all the greens are going to go with this. The light pinks here, all the purpley ones are going to go with this. The teal ones here, I would use Pool Party with that. Maybe even Pretty Peacock. So I just have color families, so you don't have to purchase a lot of different ones, as long as you just kind of rub off any excess ink. Once you're done using your brushes for a sitting, you might want to just run it under some tap water and get any excess ink out, just like you would with the Simply Chamois. Just run it until the water runs clear, and then let them dry, and they're going to stay really nice for you for a really long time. Also, be very, very gentle with your masks. As you saw that I had one that was a little bit bent, so be careful not to rub too hard on some of those delicate areas. So anyway, those are some tips to keep in mind. Again, go to toocoolstamping.com to place your order of $55 or more. I didn't put on there, since we don't have host codes anymore, that used to be my indicator for what class you were interested in. Instead, this time, it's really going to be all about deadlines. So this class kit is good from, I can't remember when we started. I think the 16th is when I announced it, through the 2nd of May. So once we get to the 2nd of May, then this class will be over with after that. So make sure you put your order in before May 2nd. All right, everyone. Thank you so very much for attending my Lovely Garden Suite live class today. I hope you really enjoyed it. I really had fun putting it together, and I know you're going to have fun putting the cards together as well. Until next time, this is Angie with Too Cool Stamping. See you next time. Bye-bye.